Caroline Webster died on a Tuesday morning in her sleep at 63 years old. Her 3 adult children found her peaceful in her bed, no signs of struggle, just the quiet end of a woman who had lived a quiet, devoted life. They called the paramedics, made the arrangements, notified the extended family. Everyone said the same thing at the funeral. Caroline was perfect. The perfect mother. The perfect neighbor. The perfect PTA president for 15 years. The perfect volunteer at the church. The perfect woman who baked cookies for every school event, who remembered every birthday, who never missed a single one of her children's milestones. Her daughter Emma delivered a tearful eulogy about a mother who sacrificed everything for her family. Her son Michael talked about how their mother held them together after their father left when they were young. Her youngest, Sarah, could barely speak through her tears. They buried Caroline on a Saturday. The following Monday, while cleaning out her house to prepare it for sale, Emma found a locked door in the basement. A door that had always been there but that Caroline said led to old storage, nothing important, don't worry about it. Emma found the key in her mother's jewelry box. She opened the door. What she found inside made her call her siblings immediately. What they discovered in that basement room rewrote everything they thought they knew about the woman who raised them. This isn't a story about a perfect mother. It's a story about the person your mother was before she became your mother, and whether you can love someone when you realize you never really knew them at all. Caroline Webster had raised her 3 children in a modest house in suburban Connecticut. She'd been a single mother since Emma was 8, Michael was 6, and Sarah was 4. Their father, David, had left one day and never come back. Caroline told the children he was a weak man who couldn't handle responsibility, and they needed to forget about him and focus on being a strong family without him. She worked 2 jobs to keep the house, refused to ask anyone for help, and built a life that looked perfect from the outside. The children grew up close to their mother and to each other. Caroline was involved in everything. Every school play, every soccer game, every parent-teacher conference. She hosted every holiday. She knew all their friends' names. She was the mother everyone wished they had. Emma, now 35 and a lawyer, had always tried to live up to Caroline's example. Michael, 33 and a teacher, had his mother's gentle nature. Sarah, 31 and a nurse, had inherited Caroline's fierce independence. They thought they knew everything about her. They were wrong. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from, we'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. The basement room was small, maybe 10 by 10 feet, with no windows. When Emma opened the door, she expected old furniture or holiday decorations. Instead, she found something that looked like a shrine. The walls were covered with newspaper clippings, all yellowed with age, all from the same year, 1987. That was 36 years ago, 2 years before Emma was born. The headlines made Emma's stomach drop. Local woman missing. Search continues for Rebecca Torres. Family desperate for answers. Emma stared at the clippings, not understanding. Then she saw the photographs. Dozens of them, pinned to a corkboard. A young woman, maybe 25, with dark hair and a bright smile. In some photos, she was alone. In others, she was with a man. Emma looked closer at the man and felt her world tilt. It was their father. David. Much younger, but unmistakably him. Emma called Michael and Sarah. They came immediately. The 3 of them stood in that basement room, reading every article, looking at every photo, trying to piece together what they were seeing. The story emerged slowly from the clippings. In 1987, a woman named Rebecca Torres had gone missing from a town about 50 miles away. She was 24 years old, worked as a bank teller, and had been engaged to be married. Her fiancé's name was David Webster. That was their father. The article said Rebecca had disappeared without a trace one evening after work. Her car was found in her apartment parking lot. Her purse was inside, keys in the ignition. No signs of struggle. No witnesses. Nothing. The police investigated. They questioned David extensively. He said he'd been at work, had an alibi, was devastated by her disappearance. He cooperated fully. They found nothing to connect him to anything criminal. The search went on for months. Rebecca's family pleaded for information. Rewards were offered. Nothing. Eventually, the case went cold. Rebecca Torres was never found. And 2 years later, David Webster married a woman named Caroline Hughes. They had 3 children. Then David left, and Caroline raised those children alone, with a locked room in her basement containing every article ever written about his missing fiancée. If this story has your heart racing, comment "I'm still watching." The siblings sat on the basement floor, surrounded by their mother's secret. Sarah was the first to speak. She said, "Mom knew. She knew about Rebecca. She knew Dad's fiancée had disappeared." Michael said, "Maybe she was trying to solve it. Maybe she was investigating." But Emma had found something else. A journal, hidden under a loose floorboard beneath where the corkboard hung. Caroline's journal, dated from 1987. Emma read it out loud. The entry started in June 1987, 2 months before Rebecca disappeared. Caroline wrote about meeting a man named David at a coffee shop. How charming he was. How they'd started seeing each other secretly. How he said he was unhappy in his current relationship but was afraid to leave because his girlfriend was unstable. How Caroline had fallen in love with him quickly, desperately. Then the entries from August 1987. The week Rebecca disappeared. Caroline's handwriting became erratic. She wrote, "David came to my apartment tonight. He was covered in dirt. He said there'd been an accident. He said Rebecca had found out about us and confronted him. He said she attacked him and he pushed her and she fell and hit her head and she wasn't breathing and he panicked. He buried her. He buried her and no one can ever know." The basement went silent. Emma stopped reading. She looked at her siblings. Michael's face had gone white. Sarah was crying. Emma forced herself to keep reading. The entries continued. Caroline wrote about her panic, her horror, her disbelief. Then, slowly, her rationalization. David says it was an accident. He didn't mean to hurt her. He's devastated. He needs me. I can't turn him in. I love him. She wrote about helping him create an alibi. About coaching him on what to say to police. About destroying evidence he'd brought to her apartment. About convincing herself that if it was truly an accident, then protecting him wasn't wrong. Then she wrote about getting pregnant. About David proposing. About marrying him and starting a family and trying to bury the past. But the past didn't stay buried. The entries from later years showed Caroline's growing obsession. She collected every article about Rebecca. She tracked Rebecca's family. She knew where Rebecca's mother lived, where her sister worked. She sent anonymous donations to the reward fund. She became consumed with the woman her husband had killed. And then, in 1995, David left. Caroline's final journal entry from that year said, "He's gone. He said he can't live with me anymore because I won't let Rebecca rest. He said I'm haunted and it's destroying him. Good. He should be destroyed. I've given him 8 years and 3 children and protected his secret. And now he gets to walk away while I'm left with everything." The siblings realized their mother hadn't been protecting their father out of love. She'd been protecting him because leaving him would mean her children would know their father was a murderer and their mother was an accomplice. She'd chosen to stay silent, to raise them alone, to carry this secret for 36 years, because telling the truth would destroy them. Emma looked at her siblings and said, "We have to call the police." Michael said, "Mom's dead. Dad's been gone for 28 years. What good does it do?" Sarah said, Rebecca's family. They deserve to know. Emma said, we don't even know where the body is. But they kept reading. And in the final pages of the journal, dated just 3 months before Caroline's death, they found the answer. Caroline had written, I'm dying. The doctor says 6 months, maybe a year. Cancer. I won't tell the children. They'll try to save me and I'm too tired to be saved. But I can't die without doing something. I've located where David buried her. I've been back to the site. I know. I've written everything down. When they find this room after I'm gone, they'll know what to do. I couldn't tell the truth while I was alive. But I won't take it to my grave. There was a map. Hand-drawn, detailed, showing a location in the woods about 60 miles away. Coordinates. Landmarks. Instructions. Caroline had found Rebecca's grave. She'd known for years, possibly always, and she'd documented everything. She'd left her children with an impossible choice: take what she'd found to the police and expose their mother as an accomplice to murder, or destroy the evidence and let Rebecca stay buried forever. The siblings sat in that basement for hours. They argued. They cried. They tried to understand how their perfect mother could have done this. How she could have known where a murdered woman was buried and said nothing for 36 years. How she could have raised them, loved them, baked them cookies and attended their graduations, all while carrying this weight. Emma wanted to call the police immediately. Michael wasn't sure. Sarah said they needed time to think. But Emma made the call. The police came. They took everything from the basement. The articles, the photos, the journal, the map. They investigated. 2 weeks later, they excavated the site Caroline had marked. They found remains. DNA testing confirmed it was Rebecca Torres. She'd been 24 years old when she died. She'd been missing for 36 years. Her mother was still alive, now 78 years old. The police notified her. The media covered the discovery. And Emma, Michael, and Sarah had to watch their mother's name become associated with the cover-up of a murder. The police determined they couldn't charge Caroline posthumously. She was beyond the reach of justice. They wanted to find David, but he disappeared completely in 1995. No trail, no records, no way to locate him. He'd vanished as completely as Rebecca once had. The Webster children were left to process what they'd learned. Their father was a murderer. Their mother was an accomplice. Everything they thought they knew about their family was built on a lie. Emma, Michael, and Sarah each processed it differently. Emma was angry. She felt betrayed, used, manipulated. Every memory of her mother was now tainted. Every sacrifice Caroline had made felt like penance rather than love. Michael tried to understand. He researched spousal coercion, trauma bonding, how fear and love can twist people into making impossible choices. He wanted to believe their mother had been a victim too. Sarah fell somewhere between. She was devastated but also strangely understanding. She said, Mom carried this alone for 36 years. That must have been hell. They attended a meeting with Rebecca's family. Rebecca's mother, Maria, was elderly but clear-eyed. She thanked them for coming forward. She said, your mother did the wrong thing for a long time. But in the end, she did the right thing. She gave me my daughter back. I can bury her now. That matters. Emma asked if Maria hated them. Maria said no. She said, you were children. This wasn't your sin to carry. Your mother made sure of that. 1 year after Caroline's death, the siblings returned to her grave. They'd barely visited since the discovery. They stood there, silent, thinking about the woman buried beneath them. Emma spoke first. She said, I don't know if I can forgive her. Michael said, I don't know if forgiveness is what she wanted. I think she wanted Rebecca's family to have peace. Maybe that was her way of asking for forgiveness from them, not us. Sarah said, she was a good mother. I know that sounds insane given everything. But she was. She loved us. She sacrificed for us. And she carried something horrible so we didn't have to. I don't know if that makes her good or bad or both. Emma said, both. She was both. They all agreed on that. Caroline Webster was both a devoted mother and a woman who helped cover up a murder. Both a loving parent and an accomplice. Both the perfect mother they'd known and a stranger they'd never know. They couldn't reconcile those two versions. They could only accept that both existed in the same person. The hidden chapter of Caroline Webster's life wasn't the basement room. It was the 36 years she spent being two people simultaneously. The mother who made pancakes and braided hair and signed permission slips. And the woman who knew where a body was buried and said nothing. She'd compartmentalized so completely that her children never suspected. She'd loved them so fiercely that she'd chosen to carry the weight of a terrible secret rather than burden them with the truth. Whether that made her selfless or selfish is impossible to say. Emma, Michael, and Sarah are still processing. They're in therapy. They've changed their last name. They're trying to build lives separate from their mother's choices. But they think about her every day. They wonder what she was thinking in that basement room, pinning up articles about a dead woman. They wonder if she felt guilt or justification or some complicated mix of both. They'll never know. Caroline took her internal hidden chapter to her grave. She only left them the facts. This is the hidden chapter of the Webster family. Not the murder. Not even the cover-up. The hidden chapter is what comes after. How do you love a parent who did something unforgivable? How do you grieve someone you realize you never really knew? How do you reconcile the good memories with the terrible truth? There are no easy answers. Emma, Michael, and Sarah are learning to live with the complexity. Their mother was not perfect. She was human. Deeply flawed. Capable of great love and terrible choices. And they have to find a way to hold all of that without letting it destroy them. If you've ever discovered something about a parent that changed how you saw them, if you've ever had to reconcile the person you knew with the person they actually were, if you've ever loved someone while knowing they did something you can't defend, then you understand the Webster siblings' hidden chapter. Some secrets should stay buried. But some secrets won't stay down no matter how deep you dig the hole. Caroline's secret was both. It stayed buried while she lived. But she made sure it surfaced after she died. Whether that was courage or cowardice is up to you to decide. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this story made you think about the secrets your own family might be carrying, maybe that's the point. Every family has a hidden chapter. Some are just darker than others. Thanks for being here. We'll see you in the next hidden chapter.